I've got a call. Call the meeting to order because it's 2 minutes after 5. I am going to ask you all, actually, I'll just mute everyone if I can. No, it doesn't look like I can. So I'll just ask you to keep the background noise to a minimum if that's possible, please. Okay, it is 5:03 p.m. on Monday, April 26, 2021. My name is Michael Margolis. I'm the chairman of the West Hartford Historic District Commission, and I am calling this meeting and public hearing into order. I'd like to welcome you to tonight's virtual meeting. The legal notice for the public hearing and the agenda for the meeting are available on the town's website. The legal notice for the public hearing contains specific call-in numbers for any member of the public who wishes to comment on any application before the commission. Because in-person attendance at public meetings is likely to increase the risk of transmission of COVID-19, this hearing is being conducted in accordance with Governor Lamont's Executive Order number 7B. Commissioners and town staff are participating by WebEx, and members of the public can view the meeting live on West Hartford Community Television or on West Hartford Community Interactive Comcast Channel 96 and Frontier Channel 6099, or at www.whctv.org. Meeting is also being recorded for on-demand viewing, which will be available on the town's website. Because of the virtual format, there are some special rules and procedures that I need to cover before we begin. First, I ask all participants to please mute your devices when you are not speaking. If you wish to be recognized, please raise your hand and I will call on you. If you are participating via audio only or I do not call on you and the debate is ending, then please unmute your phone and let me know so that I can recognize you. Second, I would like to describe how the hand-raising process will work. Unfortunately, our conferencing technology does not allow us to identify individual callers by name. So when the public comment portion of the meeting begins, the moderator will randomly unmute one call in line and ask everyone to say their name at the same time, and the voice that we hear will belong to the person whose line is unmuted. That person will then be recognized by the moderator and asked to restate their name and provide their street address. We will repeat this process until we have unmuted every phone line. It is important that you say your name each time you are prompted by the moderator. If the moderator unmutes a phone line and does not hear a voice after the prompt, that phone line will be removed from the conference. If you have called in and are also streaming the meeting on YouTube or watching on TV, please silence your other device when you speak. Otherwise, there will be an echo because there is a slight delay in the broadcast. Third, because of Governor Lamont's Executive Order 7B, all speakers must state their name and title each time they speak. And fourth, because of the difficulty in tallying voice votes on a video conference, I will require that all votes be taken by roll. I will now call the roll. Full Commissioner Cormier.
Here, present. Full Commissioner Cormier is present.
Thank you. Full Commissioner Howard.
Commissioner Howard is present.
Thank you. Commissioner Lewis is not present. Commissioner Tarutin.
Commissioner Tarutin is present.
Thank you. Commissioner Margolis is also present. Alternate Commissioner Franson.
Alternate Commissioner Franson is here.
Thank you. Alternate Commissioner Harris.
Alternate Commissioner Harris is present.
Thank you. And alternate Commissioner Schwartz. All right, I have someone on the line whose name is showing FBD. Who would that be?
That's me. Sorry.
Oh,
Fire
okay.
Brick Design. It's
Got it.
Commissioner
Okay.
Howard.
Okay, no problem. Good. Okay, thank you very much. So our first order of business this evening is a waiver of demolition delay for 136 South Main Street Boulevard. For your information, this is the former Taylor and Modine funeral home at the corner of South Main Street and Park Road. I'd like to just touch on why we're here to talk about this. The town's ordinance in section 58.6, chapter 58, section 6, says that any building that is greater than 500 square feet and older than 50 years and wants to be demolished, and someone wants to demolish that, there's a 90-day waiting period following the filing of the application for demolition. And no demolition can take place before 90 days unless one of three things happens. One is there's a land use application which went through a public hearing. That's not the case here. The third reason is if the building poses significant risks to public safety. If it's not, that's not the case here. And the third reason is if the owner of the property obtains a written determination from the West Hartford Historic District Commission and from the Connecticut Historical Commission or from their successor agencies that the structure to be demolished is of no historical significance. So the Connecticut Historical Commission has been replaced by what is now known as the State Historic Preservation Office. And I have an email from Mrs. Jenny Schofield from the State Historic Preservation Office who tells me the property at 136 South Main Street does not appear to have significant historic significance. So I know we have on the line with us tonight the petitioner, whose name is David Raisner. David, can you tell us just a little bit about your project, please?
Sure, I appreciate it, Commissioner Margolis, and thank you for the rest of the committee for gathering and voting and taking the time to do that. And everybody is incredibly busy, but we appreciate it. So 136 South Main Street on the corner of Park and Main. The plan today is to raise the building, take down the building. So asking for that 90-day waiver is great and appreciated because we're hopeful we're going to start this, beginning of May. And the plan is to build a 17,000 square foot medical building occupied by Hartford Healthcare. Super exciting, state-of-the-art building that we've gotten, double and triple thumbs up from the town. And Michael, even after, probably not right after the call, but I could certainly share some pictures with you, in due time, maybe next week. I can send that over for the commissioners' viewing.
Yeah, I mean, we're always happy to see those things. I have included for all the commissioners in your information packets tonight the listing from the town's real estate website. The building is from 1962. It is 9,638 square feet, and it's basically a brick box that's about 60 by 60. Looking at the photos and having driven past the site this week, I certainly don't see any redeeming historic value to this structure. Do we have any comments from the commissioners or questions for Mr. Raisner? He also has Mr. Weber and Mr. Clark on the line with him. Okay, hearing no questions from the commission, would the moderator please tell me if there are any members of the public who wish to speak about this application?
Besides the call-in users currently on the line, there is nobody else.
Thank you very much. I do have a call-in user 5. I don't know who that is. If you are called in and you're not, let's see, how do I do this? If you are calling in, you're not David, Mrs. Doyle, Mr. Weber, or Mr. Clark, would you please unmute yourself and say who you are? We have one mystery caller. All right, hearing no members of the public who wish to comment on this, somebody just unmuted. Who is that?
That could have been me, Sherry Schwartz. I'm on dial-in and it's to unmute myself. I'm not sure.
Okay, perfect.
First time doing this, though.
Nope, that's okay. That is that's our new commissioner, Sherry Schwartz, who's on the line with us. Glad to have you.
Thank you.
Okay, so let me rename you. So I make a motion to waive the 90-day demolition delay for 136 South Main Street Boulevard. Do I have a second from the commissioners?
Commissioner Tarutin, I will second.
Thank you very much. All right, so seated for this vote will be Cormier, Howard, Tarutin, Margolis, and Franson. Commissioner Cormier, how do you vote?
Commissioner Cormier votes to approve the waiver, the 90-day, whatever.
Thank you. Thank you. Commissioner Howard?
Commissioner Howard votes to approve.
Thank you. Commissioner Tarutin?
I vote to approve. Commissioner Tarutin.
Thank you. Commissioner Margolis also votes to approve, and alternate Commissioner alternate Commissioner Franson.
Alternate Commissioner Franson votes to approve.
Thank you. So the waiver of the 90-day demolition delay has been unanimously approved. Misters Raisner, Weber, and Clark, you are all welcome to stay on the meeting if you wish. You're welcome to drop off without us thinking badly of you as well. And I will inform the Building Commission at the end of this meeting that the historic portion of your application is complete. Thank you very much for participating, and best of luck on your new property.
And this is David Raisner speaking again. Thank you very much, Michael and team. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. All right, next on the docket this evening is 1564 Boulevard, application by Katherine Doyle for the installation of I'm going to call them condensers. I'm not sure what the proper term is for new mini split air conditioners that are put into the building at 1564 Boulevard. Mrs. Doyle, can you tell us a little bit about your project, please? You'll have to unmute yourself. There we go. You're unmuted now, Mrs. Doyle. Mrs. Doyle, can you hear us? Mrs. Doyle, can you hear us? I feel like we need to proceed with this application because it is on the docket and it has been legally noticed. Mrs. Doyle has now muted herself. Perhaps she can try unmuting one more time, and let's see if that works. Mrs. Doyle, can you hear us now?
Can you hear Stephen Clark?
Yes, I can hear Stephen Clark.
Okay, I'm here with Mrs. Doyle. She's just having difficulty unmuting her phone. I believe you have to press *6.
Well, if you want to just hand your phone to Mrs. Doyle, we can just do it that way, Mr. Clark.
Okay, I'll put it on speakerphone. Okay.
Yeah, that's perfect. That's perfect.
Okay.
So, Mrs. Doyle, this is Yes, Mrs. Doyle and Mr. Clark. Mr. Clark, by the way, is Mrs. Doyle's contractor. This is Michael Margolis from the West Hartford Historic District Commission. We have you online with 6 commissioners, and we'd like you to explain your project to us, please.
Yes, Michael, I'm sorry. I unmuted by their direction, but it did not work. Yes, I've been in this house for 35 years, but never spent a full summer here until illness took over. And so I never had air conditioning in the house. And so because of health reasons, I can no longer go away for the summer. So I had mini splits. Stephen Clark installed mini splits for me. At the time, I didn't even know there was any outside contraptions. And so I let him, we just went ahead. And the day he installed them is when I saw the outside thing, even though he had discussed something about around in the back or on the side. And I just said I wanted them on the side of the rooms. And, but anyway, yes, there is a heat pump installed on the side of my house, and it's a done deal. I did not make application at the time that it was done. Can you hear me?
Thank you. Yes, ma'am, we hear you fine. And I do appreciate how warm a West Hartford house gets in the summertime. So I completely understand why you would want to have air conditioning in your house. I am a little confused by one thing, though, more than a little confused. When the application came through, I spoke to, by email from the building department, and I asked if the mini split, I guess I'll call it the condenser. Mr. Clark, what do you call the thing that's outside? Forgive me.
It's called a heat pump.
Heat pump.
But it's relatively the same as a condenser.
Okay, so I asked about the location of the heat pump, and I received from you, Mr. Clark, on April 8th, a drawing showing that the heat pump would be located at the rear of the house. I'm not sure, because the application was dated April 12th, so I'm a little confused when the heat pump was actually installed. But on April 8th, you submitted a map to the town showing that the heat pump would be in the back of the house and not visible from the street. So
That's correct. When I made application for the mechanical permit, I was told that the unit would have to be placed to the rear of the house. So that's what I marked on the plot plan, the unit in the rear corner, the rear back corner of the house. So when we did the actual installation, Mrs. Doyle in the back of the house, apparently it's a very muddy, wet spot, and she said she would prefer to have it on the side. So I told her, well, we needed to put it on the back. However, she wanted it on the side, and I said, well, if we have to move it to the back, we will, but on the mechanical permit, it's marked in the rear of the house. So anyways, we put it on the side of the building, and if we have to move it, we have to move it. But she would prefer to have it on the side of the house because the spot in the rear of the house is a very muddy, wet area, and she's worried that it will get damaged, and it also would block her windows in the back as well. So that's the timeline, I guess, is what you're asking for.
Okay, I understand. So to be clear, you did submit a map showing the heat pump in the back of the house where it would not be visible from the street, and Mrs. Doyle asked for it to be mounted on the side of the house.
Right, and she said if she needed to, she would make a request to the historical commission, you know, for a waiver or an appeal for the unit to be on the side of the house. I did tell her that I thought she might have grounds because 2 houses north of her house on Boulevard, there is a condenser clearly visible on the side of the house. But that's all I can offer, I guess.
Okay, thank you. I think I understand now. Commissioners, do we have any questions for Mrs. Doyle or Mr. Clark? I do have a question, Mr. Clark. You said that it would be possible to move the heat pump to the back of the house. Is that an expensive procedure?
Well, in a sense, yes, because we would have to also move the electrical disconnect box that's, you know, mounted on the outside of the house, the electrical service for the outdoor unit. We would also have to extend the copper refrigeration line around the side to the back of the house. So, I mean, it would probably cost, I'm going to say roughly maybe $1,000 to do that. You know, for the materials and labor.
Okay. Thank you very much. I appreciate your answer. Let's see. I see Mrs. Harris. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Commissioner Harris. Mr. Clark, is there a mechanical or a functional reason it would be bad to have the condenser in the back of the house where there is this wet, swampy ground?
Well, the outdoor unit is mounted on a stand, on a 4-legged stand. And, you know, if that spot accumulates a lot of groundwater, that stand could become unstable in that corner, in that rear corner. That's really the only one of the downsides of having it back there in that one spot. And there really aren't any other spots in the rear of the house that the unit could go except in that one corner, the rear corner.
So for functional reasons, it's better to have it on the side of the house?
It is, just because that spot in the rear is just so wet and, you know, water accumulates there. It was wet. It was pretty wet the day that we showed up to do the installation.
I'm curious, where did you get the information when you submitted the application that the condenser would need to go in the back of the house?
Well, the mechanical inspector, Mark, said that it needed to be to the rear of the house, that he had spoken or emailed to one of the commissioners, and he asked me, he said, are you going to put it to the rear of the house? And I said, well, we'll put it to where we have to, you know? Okay.
So this guidance was given to you as a component of the historic district regulations as opposed to some functional reason. Is that correct?
I'm sorry, can you say that again?
Yes. You were given the guidance that the equipment would have to be in the back of the house as a nod to the historic district guidance and regulations, as opposed to something that the inspector thought was needed for functional reasons or code reasons, right?
Correct.
Okay.
It was more of a, so it was to comply with the historical commission requirements or guidelines.
All right, thank you. I don't have anything else.
I have a question,
Commissioner
Tarutin, if I may.
Actually, Commissioner Tarutin, Mrs. Cormier had her hand up before you, if you don't mind. Ladies first.
My question was very much similar to Julie's, and it was Commissioner Harris. So it was about how wet it was back there and whether it was better to have it on the side to improve the efficiency of the unit and everything like that.
Well, I mean, it's not a question of efficiency. It's the, like I said, it goes on a four-legged stand, and being it's a soft spot, it could very easily be moved to one side or the other. One side could settle. So when we were here on that day, we were doing the installation, Mrs. Doyle was like, I really don't want to put it there. It's all muddy and wet there. Can we put it on the side? And that's what we did.
Right. I saw the unit is on four legs, and a concrete pad wouldn't help or something like that. That would only make it.
No, certainly not in that wet spot. No, a concrete pad would probably make it worse.
Okay. All right. That was my question. Commissioner Margolis.
Thank you. Commissioner Tarutin, please go ahead.
Thank you. Apparently, my phone doesn't have a raising of the hand option, so I apologize. I had a question. I believe that you mentioned at the beginning, I guess I could do that. You mentioned at the beginning that it would block a window if it were installed in the back of the house. Could you tell us a little more?
Yeah, she has a family room back here, and there's 3 windows, gang together. And because that unit is on a stand, it would block one of the 3 windows, to the view of the outside. I mean, not totally, but it would probably block maybe a foot or 2 above the window to the rear of the house.
Thank you.
All right. Any other comments from commissioners? We have no members of the public signed on, so I know that we don't. I know that we don't have any members of the public who wish to comment on this. Commissioners, any other comments from you? Okay. I'm going to do something. Yes, please go ahead. No, go ahead. Please, Mr. Clark, go ahead.
I'd be more than willing to, plant some kind of plant or bush in front of that unit to obstruct the view from the street, if that would satisfy the commissioners. I'd be more than willing to plant some bush or whatever
So would I.
is necessary.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I'm going to do something a little unusual. I'm going to call for more than one vote on this. The first vote I'm going to call for would be to accept this application as built with the heat pump on the side of the house. And if that passes, then everything's fine. If that doesn't pass, then I'm going to call for a second vote where we would ask them to move it to the rear of the house. I do have a couple of comments. While I appreciate your offer to put plantings in front of the heat pump, the heat pump is permanent and the plantings are not. And if the planting dies, I don't think anyone from the town is going to want to be policing every year that the azalea bush died and the heat pump is visible from the street again. So I don't see that as while it's noble, I don't see that as a proper alternative. And I'm offering a second vote because I'm a little, maybe annoyed is too strong a word. I'm a little put off that the building department asked you to put the heat pump in the back of the house. You submitted an application with a map showing the heat pump in the back of the house, and then the heat pump was put on the side of the house. While I understand that you may have felt that there was precedent a couple houses up the street, the truth is the handbook by which we judge these applications is awfully clear that it should not be visible from the street. Each application is judged on its own merit. And I don't know what the circumstances were for the heat pump that's visible a couple houses up. It may be that they never applied for an application for that, and it's against code. So I don't really take that into account. So that having been said, is there any further discussion from the commissioners? If not, I'm going to call for a vote. Okay, I would like to call for a vote on 1564 Boulevard, submission by Mrs. Katherine Doyle for putting the heat pump as installed on the side of the house, which is visible from the street. Do I have a second? I need a second to continue with the vote.
I'll second.
Thank you. I have a second from Carl Franson. Full Commissioner Cormier, how do you vote?
I was hoping I didn't have to go first. I'm not really sure.
You can abstain, and Commissioner Harris can vote in your place.
All right. I think I'd like to do that.
Okay. Commissioner Howard, how do you vote?
To be clear, this first vote is to approve the COA as it exists?
No, the COA shows the heat pump in the back of the house. This first vote is to approve it as built, which is against advice from the building department and against what the certificate shows.
But the COA that, oh, okay. So the pictures that I'm looking at are not attached to the original COA.
That is correct. The pictures were added after the COA
okay.
was submitted. Sorry, maybe that wasn't clear.
Okay, then again, if the COA as submitted says that the pump is at the back of the house. So
actually, I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah.
The COA does not say anything about where the heat pump would be, which is why I
says back
pulled
section of house. What I'm looking at says back
section of house. Okay.
And it had the drawing.
I'm sorry.
No, that's okay.
You are correct. The COA does say at the back section of house. And because I wasn't clear on that, I polled the building department and they supplied me with Mr. Clark's drawing showing, well, you all have a copy of it, but showing the heat pump at the back of the house. So once again, to be clear, we are voting on basically the as-built with the heat pump on the side of the house. The COA does say that it would be at the back section of the house.
Okay. So the COA says it'll be in the back section of the house. It in the picture shows that it is actually on the side of the house. So I'm not sure which I am approving or not approving at this point. Am I approving the existing COA that says back section, or am I approving what the photos show? Is what I just want to make sure that I understand which way I'm going here.
Okay. Okay, thank
I would
thank you.
prefer,
And
let's put it this way, I would prefer the mini split in the back section of the house, if at all possible.
Okay,
So I just
So-
want to make sure.
that's all right. Then if you would prefer the mini split in the back of the house, invisible from the street, you need to vote against the proposal that is on the table.
Okay, then against the proposal, I'm voting against the proposal that is on the table, not exactly what I'm reflected in the COA that I see. Okay, then that is what I do. This Commissioner Howard, I'm voting against the proposal.
Thank you. And I'm sorry if this is a little confusing. Commissioner Tarutin, may I ask for your vote, please?
Commissioner Tarutin, I vote to approve as built. And I rely on the
Thank you.
fact that in the back of the house, it will be protruding into a window, which is a major nuisance, I believe.
Okay. Commissioner Margolis, I vote to decline this because it was not built as submitted. Commissioner Franson, how do you vote?
I vote not to approve because it didn't follow the COA.
Thank you. Commissioner Harris, you are seated because Commissioner Cormier has recused herself. May I ask how you vote, please?
Yes, I'm going to decline the application because the reality does not match the application.
Thank you. So this certificate of appropriateness as built is declined. So that having been said, I would like to take another vote. We could ask you to submit another certificate of appropriateness, which would cost another 30 days, and we'd be back here in a month from now. I do have the option of approving a modified certificate of appropriateness, and so that's what I'm going to propose, would be a certificate of appropriateness for 1564 Boulevard with the heat pump in the back of the house where it is not visible from the street, as shown on the plan submitted by Mr. Clark to the building department on April 8th. Is everyone clear on what we're about to vote on? Mrs. Harris, you're shaking your head no.
I'm not clear because why would the application be modified if the current application puts the condenser at the rear or back section of the house? It would seem to be the same application, but now with the condenser actually moved to the back of the house. That's why I'm confused.
Well, you're an attorney and I'm not, so maybe I'm completely ruining the legality of their certificate. We have already declined the certificate as written, but we do have the option. No, I shouldn't say that. We declined the certificate as built because we're aware that it was not built the way it was written.
I would be willing to consider an application which puts the condenser where it actually exists with an explanation of the problem with the back of the house location. In other words, where the reality matched the application. I'd be willing to look at that. Where the application matched the reality, I should say.
Thank you. I'll ask for a little legal advice. Do you feel that we can do that right now, or do you feel that Mrs. Clark needs to reapply?
Oh, I don't know that I'm qualified to opine on that, but my gut tells me that she needs to submit a new application that matches the reality.
So the only reason I'm questioning that is because the application shows the heat pump in the back of the house.
but it's not. And
but it's not.
Back section.
From what I understand, what
Yeah.
we're being asked to approve is keeping the heat pump at the side of the house, which is where it is. So the application doesn't match the situation that we're being asked to approve.
Okay, I understand. Since it is not clear, and since we have denied this application, I do think it's best if Mrs. Clark, if you reapply for next month and show us that the heat pump will be at the back of the house, and we'll reconsider your application at our next meeting, which is on Monday, May 24th. Okay, I've got two hands up. Mrs. Harris.
I think what the applicant needs to do is prepare an application that shows the condenser on the side of the house. We don't need another application that says back of the house when what she's asking is that we approve side of the house. We need an application that says we're going to put the condenser on the side of the house. And then the reasons, which we heard tonight. I'd be willing to consider that.
Mrs. Cormier?
So in essence, yeah, she's asking for an exception because the impact of the window and the wet backyard. So that's something we could certainly consider, but we can't approve it as in the back unless she moves it in the back. And we're willing to consider not moving it in the back.
Okay, fair enough. Understood. So, Mrs. Clark, if you would kindly resubmit another application to us.
I think
with,
you mean Mrs. Doyle. I think you mean
sorry.
Mrs. Doyle.
Mrs. Doyle, excuse me, Mrs. Doyle, if you would kindly submit another application to us showing the condenser on the side of the house and the reason why you would like it there, and we will reconsider that at our next meeting.
Okay, Michael, I just have one question. I did
Yes.
write the application. I wrote the application, COA, and I used the term back section of the house because this old house has an add-on at the back of the house. And that's really my living quarters in the back of the house. So that's where the air conditioners are. So the air conditioners were put in the back section of the house, and the condenser was put directly down from where the air conditioners are set within the house. It may be semantics, but I think I said back section of the house because my house is a lot longer than it is wide.
You did say back section of the house, which I found to be vague enough that I asked the building department, would these be visible from the street? The reply came back to me that said the contractor says they are not visible from the street. And I replied on Friday, April 9th, I would love to see a drawing of the house and where they are going. If he installs them and we can see them, this is a quote from me, if he installs them and we can see them, there will be a huge problem. So let's be proactive and make him draw it out. And the drawing came back showing them in the back of the house where they were not built. So,
But did you not get my photographs?
I did get your photographs, and your photographs show that the heat pump was put in a completely different place from where we were told.
But
which
in
is
my
why
term, I considered that the back section of the house.
Okay.
That's why I said this is semantics with the back section because my house is long. And I was not trying to get away saying the rear of the house because that's not where it is.
I understand completely. The handbook of the Historic District Commission
Yeah.
pretty clearly says that an apparatus like this should not be visible from the street.
Okay.
That's reason number one why I voted against it personally. And reason number two why I voted against it was because it was not built where we were told it would be. So you are welcome to submit a new application. You might even submit 2 applications to us, one showing it as built where it is, and we can hear that one first. And if that one fails again, then we can hear the second application with the heat pump in the back of the house where it's not visible from the street.
All right, well, would it be just as simple to just move this unit to the back, to the rear corner and avoid all of this?
Yeah.
So we don't have to go through more paperwork?
Well, that was why I had asked for a that was why I had asked for a second vote. I would be willing to change. Well, we can approve the certificate of appropriateness with modifications, and we can add into the modifications that the heat pump is at the rear of the house, not visible from the street.
Well, then if we did that, is there really anything that the commission needs to vote on if we move it to the rear of the house?
Honestly, no. If it's at the rear of the house and not visible from the street, we do not. We would actually vote that a certificate of appropriateness is not necessary.
Okay. Well, I think we'd be wasting everyone's time if we didn't just move it to the rear of the house at this point. So Mrs. Doyle is willing to do it, and I'm willing to do it and comply with the original mechanical permit as it's marked on the plot plan.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, in that case, it becomes out of the domain of the West Hartford Historic District Commission, and I can report to the Building Commission that you're planning to move the heat pump to the rear of the house, in which case no certificate is required.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
I think Mr. Doyle is acceptable of that.
All right. So thank you very much. You do have a couple of options. You can resubmit for next month with the heat pump on the side of the house, or you can move it and let me know that, and I'll inform the building department that it's been moved to the rear of the house, and then there's no discussion from us.
We can do that within the next 2 weeks. Is that acceptable?
Yeah, I mean, at this point, the building department won't issue it won't pass inspection. I think they issued a permit, but it won't pass inspection. So do me a favor, Mr. Clark, once you have the heat pump relocated to the rear of the house, shoot me an email, maybe even a couple of pictures, just cell phone snaps is fine. You have my cell phone, you can text them to me as well, and then I'll submit that to the building department. They'll come out, do an inspection, and you guys will be good to go.
Okay. Did you want to say anything, Mrs. Doyle?
No, but, thank you for your time, but I can't put any more time into this. I'm getting treatments and stuff, so I've done what I can do.
I understand, and we thank you for the application, and certainly hope that things go well for you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
All right, we have one more application, and that application is a certificate of appropriateness for 11 Flagg Road, submitted by homeowner Michael Margolis for installation of a new shed in the rear yard. Since Michael Margolis is me, I am going to cede the chairmanship to Vice Chair Tarutin, who will handle this application.
Thank you, Mike. I will apologize in advance. I have never run a meeting like this before, so I will probably make mistakes. But we do have, as has been mentioned, an application for a replacement of an existing barn on the property. And I would ask Mr. Margolis to explain to us what's being planned and what the project entails, and we'll take it from there.
Thank you. If you don't mind, I'm going to hopefully share my screen. Do you guys see a barn?
Yes.
Okay, good. Sorry. Thank you. So the house, as you know, was built in 1766. By my count, it is the 5th oldest structure in town. And my wife and I obviously care a tremendous amount about historic preservation. So when we decided to replace the 8-foot by 8-foot Home Depot shed that was in the back of the yard, it was important to us that this shed not only be historically appropriate, but that the shed would look like it had always been on the property. So the first thing we did was we went and did a bunch of research on what old New England barns looked like. And we came up with a number of things that were fairly typical. The first thing is that it would have a high peaked roof. This angle at the roof is either 90 degrees or close to 90 degrees. That's called a 12 pitch. It runs up 12 inches for every 12 feet it goes over. The second thing is there would be doors on the short end. And the third thing is there would be a transom window. So this is just a picture of an old barn. It's not mine, but that's a very typical New England barn. I'm going to show you a half a dozen of those. Here's another one that's basically the same thing. Double doors on the short end, transom window over the doors. This one has a cupola on top. The third thing that was very typical of New England barns is that they would be painted red. This one has a little bit of a less pitch on the roof. Fourth example that I found, you see the same thing, doors on the end, transom windows, cupola, painted red. Fifth one, I have a feeling this is a black and white picture that was somehow colorized. I'm not sure. And then just another one that I found. So you see a lot of these characteristics. So now this is a picture of our shed. I will tell you that the shed is in place, and I should have done this last month, but didn't. So the shed was built by a company in Ellington, Connecticut called The Barnyard. It is 12 feet by 16 feet. It does have a 10/12 roof, so the roof is not quite as steep as some would be. Double doors on the end. There's a single door on the side. We did put a cupola on top, which was pretty common. And it's a little hard to see in this picture, but we have a very large stepping stone that was the door, the step for an old barn that was on the property, and we moved that in place to be in front of the door. The next thing I'll tell you is that this is a view from the sidewalk. We have quite a large property. It's almost 3/4 of an acre, and the distance from the sidewalk to the front of the barn is more than 200 feet. So it is definitely visible from the sidewalk. And I got a couple of compliments from neighbors, but realistically, it's I don't know if you can see my mouse moving, but it's a tiny little spot back there. And lastly, just for curiosity, I'll show you how it was delivered. The barnyard delivers it on this trolley with the roof collapsed, and then they move it into place and push the roof back up. So that's what it looks like, and happy to entertain. Oh, the other thing I'll mention to you, it's a little hard to see again, but these are 6x6 windows, which we chose 6x6 windows because that's what the main house has. So I'm gonna stop sharing my screen, and thank you for the opportunity to present.
Thank you, Mike. Do we have any concerns or questions from the commissioners? And my phone doesn't show who is raising their hand. I'm sorry. I guess it matters who is the administrator of the hearing. So maybe Mr. Margolis can help me and acknowledge.
Mrs. Harris is raising her hand.
Please, Mrs. Harris.
Okay. Mike, describe the building it's replacing.
The building was an 8-foot by 8-foot Home Depot shed. It was painted white, and it was a Dutch colonial. And that building was purchased by the previous owner of the house. When we moved here, that building was behind the garage and not visible from the street. We did move it more than 10 years ago into the current location of this shed so that it was visible from the street. It was a Dutch colonial with the, the roof that comes almost down to the ground. It was about 3 feet off the ground, and it was white. And the squirrels ate their way into it and literally destroyed that shed.
So in terms of historic well, first of all, how old is your home? When was it built?
The home is from 1766.
So would you say that this replacement structure, which is made of wood, and the 6x6 windows you've described, touches more the historic detail of a 17th century outbuilding than the shed that it's replacing?
That was the plan. That's specifically why we chose this shed over any other, and the architectural details on it. Yes.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Any other questions from the commissioners? Okay, hearing no more questions, can I ask Madam Moderator whether we have any members of the public wishing to comment or ask questions?
We do not currently have anyone else on the line.
With no more persons wishing to comment or ask questions, I'll make a motion to approve the certificate as filed. Do I have a second?
You have a second from Mrs. Harris, who is raising her hand.
Commissioner Harris?
I
Do I have a
second the
second?
motion.
Thank you. All right. With this, with Mike not being able to vote, I think we're gonna have Commissioner Cormier, Commissioner Howard, Commissioner Franson, Commissioner Harris, and Commissioner Tarutin. That is myself voting. That's 5, and that should suffice. So Commissioner Cormier, how do you vote?
I vote to approve.
Thank you. Commissioner Howard?
Commissioner Howard, I vote to approve.
Thank you. Commissioner Franson?
Alternate Commissioner Franson, I vote to approve.
My apologies. Commissioner Harris, how do you vote?
Commissioner Harris, I vote to approve.
And Commissioner Tarutin, I vote to approve also. And therefore, the application is approved unanimously. And I don't think I have anything else to do with this. Maybe sign it.
You can,
right?
you can cede the chair back to Mr. Margolis, please.
I will cede the chair gladly, and once the meeting is over, I will sign the application and get it back to you, Mike.
Thank you very much. Next order of business, approval of minutes for the March 22nd meeting. I didn't print them out, but I did email everyone a copy. Any comments on those? All right. Since I didn't print them out, I don't remember who was at that meeting, so I'm just going to go through the list of commissioners who are here. If you approve it, say so. If you were not at the meeting, just say so again. Commissioner Cormier?
Commissioner Cormier was at the meeting, and I vote to approve the minutes as submitted.
Thank you. Commissioner Howard, you were there as well?
I was. Commissioner Howard, I approve the minutes.
Thank you. Commissioner Tarutin, you were there?
I was there. I approve the minutes, Commissioner Tarutin.
Thank you. Commissioner Margolis, I also approve. Commissioner Franson, I think you were there.
I was
late,
not
if
there. I
remember
tried,
right.
but it was late. I was
Okay.
not there.
Thank you. Commissioner Harris then.
Commissioner Harris, I approve the minutes.
Perfect. Then the minutes pass unanimously. Commissioners' concerns and comments. My first comment is I would like to welcome Commissioner Sherry Schwartz to our commission. She has been on the line with us, but not on video. So we have a new commissioner to replace Deb Harris, who left the town. So Mrs. Schwartz, welcome. This may have been a little bit of a tricky first meeting, but we're glad to have you on board. Are there any other comments or concerns from commissioners about anything at all?
Just
Hearing none. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, sir.
No, just wanted to share. I know I was in front of the commission a while ago with my proposal for the addition, and I thought that you guys might be interested in what it looks as of last week. I'll share my screen. See it?
Wow, it's beautiful.
So that's the progress so far. It's showing right on your screens?
Yes, it is. It looks great.
Yeah, it's beautiful, Andre.
Yeah.
That's great. Congratulations.
Thank you. It's a little strange to see it in reality, you know, when I remember putting it on paper. So that's certainly an interesting experience.
Nice. I love it. I love it. It looks great. Now there should be a little button at the top that says stop sharing or something like that.
Stop sharing. I'll try. Yes, there is a button. Okay.
All right. Congratulations to you. Commissioners, any other comments tonight? All right. It is 6:07 p.m. and I will close and adjourn the meeting. Thank you very much for everyone's participation, and we'll see you in a month. Thank you.
Thank you, and welcome, Mrs. Schwartz.